You hear me?
Yeah, you can hear yourself on the live stream.
Good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to Sober Mind, episode 2. All right, I'm going to get some administrative things out of the way real quick. Some housekeeping, if you will. By the way, if you were tuned in a few minutes ago, Judy yelled at me from the other room that she could hear me. I was drinking coffee and mouthing stuff to myself. But anyway, still getting some things figured out. I'm excited. So we got some different scene selections going here. We have some in-laws and other friends joining today. Anyway, the housekeeping thing I wanted to talk about was an apology, basically. Sorry for starting this out last week on Twitch. I just got pretty excited about a streaming platform, so that's kind of where I naturally navigated to. But it turns out Twitch is a cesspool for weird preteens and angst to hang out and do strange things. Anyway, I've always been a YouTube fan, so ever since they launched their live stream service, I wanted to give it a shot anyway. So much more professional, much more organized. Also, as these are streaming, it gets saved into a video on demand format, obviously, so you can go back and look at them. If you missed last week's episode where I fumbled through the beginning, go ahead and check that one out. But I found out that Twitch, they only keep the videos for a certain amount of time and then they expire. YouTube has a format called evergreen, so which means until you delete them, they're always going to be there. So which is nice as more people discover this, and hopefully you all share it with your friends, then they can go back and see the old things. All right, so the new format I'm trying today is I'm going to go to the main scene, and I've got some just chill, low-key background music playing. I know one of my friends is on here. He'll tell me if my mix is super bad. I think it's good. I did a test stream, so the mic should be just perfect over the background. Nothing should be out competing one another. And so there's the scene. Got the chat going. If y'all want to participate in the chat, have at it. I will try to answer questions or make comments as we cruise along. The lighting setup, I think, is good. If someone could let me know if they don't. Here, I got a right that sort of highlights this side a little bit more. I think that's too much. I don't need that. I did turn off the left light earlier too. It's very dramatic. Maybe we could do that just for cold winter days. But in the meantime, let's keep a little bit cheery. Okay, grab your coffee. Let's sit back, have a chill time. Let's chat. Let's talk about addiction, mental health, my ever-long pursuit of happiness and serenity. Happy Saturday. Thanks for joining me. Okay. As I mentioned last week, today's topic is going to be friendships. Friendships gained and lost after Judy and I got sober. So I'll just jump right into it. When we quit drinking, we knew that there would be an impact on our friendships just because of the lifestyle that we had. As the majority of you know, we were home brewers, we were into the barbecue scene, and that's just sort of what we did. When friends would come over and hang out, it was, a medium, sometimes a large group of folks that all drank and all ate greasy, fatty foods. Except my friend, who I'm going to talk about later, they shall be known as Melissa and Jill. Okay, remember I use fake names to protect the guilty. Anyway, once we quit drinking, me and Judy just had an organic shift in lifestyle changes. For the first couple months, I guess we were, just rediscovering what we enjoyed doing and what we could enjoy doing. We got really excited about the possibilities of the things that we've been missing out on, because now we were getting up at a normal time, or actually really early on the weekends. We found ourselves with a lot of time throughout all of the days to do tasks, to do gardening, to do renovations around the house, have the energy to do that as our minds slowly started waking back up. Anyway, through that rediscovery, one of our biggest friendships, whom I will call Billy and Karen, it started to slough away. And this is just me speaking from how I felt about it. I was going through a lot of internal change, obviously. So I needed a lot of space. I needed time for me to rediscover me. And, I'm 50 years old. I'm an alcoholic. I was a heavy drinker for 20 plus years, and there's a whole new, fresh awakening that happens once you become sober. So I know it sounds very cliche, but our close friendships that we had with Billy and Karen, we realized that we didn't know what that friendship was, because I didn't know them anymore. I knew them as drinking buddies. I missed them a lot, an extraordinarily amount. But when I really tried to dissect what I missed, I found myself realizing that I missed all of the times we hung out and drank and got hammered. I tried to think about the conversations that we used to have, the ones I remember. And I don't think that those conversations were really ever based around anything fruitful, if you will. So I've really been trying to figure out a way to rekindle that relationship. Judy has rekindled the relationship with Karen, but I don't know. It's awkward to get back together with Billy, because I don't know what we have in common. It's like starting out a whole new relationship. So I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. I'll have to figure it out. In the meantime, the biggest support system that we had was Melissa and Jill, because they've been our friends for a long time, and they do drink on occasion, but they're by no means alcoholics. They could take it or leave it, which is, well, some of us alcoholics, that's our dream, right? That's what we want to be able to do, be able to go somewhere and have a drink. That's something that they can do. So they were very supportive throughout this, and it was nice to have them, and still have them in our journey, because they help a lot more than they think they do. So, an example of the friendships that just got completely lost was from, I think some of you may know him. His name was Rocco. He was what I thought was a good friend, but then again, when I went back and examined the relationship, I don't know what we had in common except for drunken conversation. So about 3 or 4 months after we got sober, he texted me and wanted to know what we were up to and when we could get together. And I replied with, life is great, we're doing good, we've been sober for 4 months, clean and sober. And that was it. There was no reply. That was the last I ever heard from Rocco, which was very interesting. I thought there would be a congratulations or good luck or something. I don't know. Hypocritically, when I was drinking, I was on the other side of that as well. I remember when I was on Facebook, a friend of mine that I knew, he was very vocal about getting sober and the struggles that he was going through. But of course, I was in my cups and still heavily drinking. And I don't know if it was jealousy or spite. I can't recall the actual emotion to try to put an adjective on it, but I did not like him anymore. I unfriended him. I showed him, guy was trying to get sober. I was like, I'll have nothing to do with that. So I guess I can totally understand how it... I think I was afraid, or that at that time it made me too introspective to be able to be forced to watch someone go through sobriety, because I was like, just not too far from my actual conscious, my mind was like, that needs to be you, dude, or you're gonna blow out your liver or your brain soon. So yeah, interesting. I didn't like what happened to me, but I've done that to people inadvertently. But yeah, it was just, yeah, how you doing? Doing good. I'm healthy. I'm sober for 4 months. End of discussion. Never heard from the dude again. So I get it, I guess. Anyway, it's tough stuff to navigate. I'm still navigating it. This is gonna sound super callous. I don't mean it to be, but at 50 years old, I'm not longing to find a bunch of friends anyway. The friends that I have now are valuable and enriching in my lives. So I'm all set. I'm not lonely. I've got dad that lives here, got my beautiful wife Judy, and my dogs, and a couple good friends, and I'm happy and life is good, and my in-laws that keep me in check. So if you're new to this and you're flirting with maybe quitting drinking, and you're in a group of folks that drink, just know that that's a realistic expectation of things that happen. So not a big deal. The more important thing is that you take care of yourself, take care of your sobriety, acknowledge it, and know that some people may not appreciate you getting healthy and sober. Strange to even say that out loud. Some of the friendships that we gained along the way inadvertently are really, really interesting. I was working outside. That's right, Judy says it's not the quantity but the quality of friendships. Right on, Judy. Agree wholeheartedly. We had I think we were having a garage sale, coincidentally, selling all of our brewing equipment. Man, this guy that came by, he got a hell of a deal. We probably had close to $1,000 worth of equipment. We gave it to him for like 80 bucks. We just wanted to get it out of the basement. I wasn't going to sit there and piecemeal it out. It's one of those things you kind of need to sell it all together. Take the right person to come by and get selective chunks. But anyway, he was like, "Are you serious?" We said, "Yeah, 100% serious." So we were out there having the garage sale, and a guy from work cruised by, and I looked at him and he looked at me, and we acknowledged each other, and he went on his way, and basically just said, "Do you live around here?" "Yeah." He lives up the road or whatever. A couple weeks later, I was taking the trash out, literally taking the trash out, and he walked by again. And we got to talking, and I think the most know me, I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. So I towards the end of the conversation, I was like, "Yeah, if you want to get together," this is how weird it is at 50 years old trying to make a new friend as a male. It was, I don't really go fishing, but would you want to go fishing? Sounded weird, like asking a dude out on a date. I don't fish, but I'll do it. I'll do it for a new kindling of a friendship. But I was like, yeah, I don't do much, because I've been sober for, I think at that time it was like 8 or 9 months. And this is the thing you'll find with sober folks that are going through their journey, because it's really a part of our lives. Obviously, he just blurted out, he's like, "Oh man, good for you, man. I've been sober for 18 months." And I was like, "Oh my God." And it was just this instant connection. But you can tell it's a very conscious, strong foundational connection, if that makes any sense. Versus running into a friend at a bar or something and you're drinking and you're like, "Oh man, we're going to be best friends forever." You're not best friends forever. You're best friends for the next couple hours that you're getting hammered together. Or you could be best friends forever, but far and few between. So it was really nice to be able to spark that relationship with him, and to just be able to start talking about stuff related to sobriety. I have found, so we would meet, and we still do occasionally meet, like on a Thursday, and go run a 5K together, and those are good conversations about mental health and sobriety. I know that I am probably the most annoying alcoholic there is during this recovery, because I love to talk about it. And people are just like, "Dude, shut the fuck up." I do not care about your sobriety at all. As they're walking away, I'm like, "All right, well, I'm here if you need to talk to somebody." Hug time? No, it's not that bad. I get excited about it, because I'm deathly afraid of ever drinking again. I know there's schools of thought and philosophy about just take it one day at a time, but I'm not a one day at a time guy either. It's just, this has been the change. I know that some alcoholics would say, don't ever say you're never going to drink again. Just say you're not going to drink today. Well, I'll tell you that if I ever drink again, it's going to 100% destroy everything in my life. It would be that phase. I would lose my job. I don't even want to think about what would happen with my relationship with my wife and friends. It would be bad news, because man, I would go into it full steam ahead. So it's good. I don't have the cravings for it. Oh, I take that back. I did hit a craving for something, and Judy and I looked at each other and we both had the same thought. I'll talk about that in a sec, but yeah, so that's where we're at with the friendships. The ones that we had that were rock solid, like with Melissa and Jill. They hold on. I think one of them's texting me. Oh, I'm sorry. Nope. I thought they were gonna say, please feel free to use my name. I'm not gonna. So those strong foundational friendships, which turns out we didn't have a lot. I could count them on just a couple fingers. Those are nice. Anyway, so yeah, it's definitely a thing. Catches people off guard. I've tried to make relationships too with other sober folks, and it's interesting to try and get into them. I don't know. My tattoo artist, Paul, him and his wife, they're sober. They've always been sober. Well, turns out Paul used to be a heavy drinker way back in the day, but he said it really started messing with his tattooing. Yeah, I can imagine. You got to have a pretty steady hand and some calm inner peace to be able to tattoo. But I've been trying to link up with them because I think we have a lot in common. But we'll get through it. The family relationships certainly have changed. My in-laws, Michelle and Guy, who are going through their own sobriety journey. I won't tell Guy's story because it's his, but I was on the other end. When he quit drinking and became sober, I was still drinking, and I realized I didn't have anything in common with him anymore because I was on that side of it, and I just didn't know how to. It wasn't that I didn't know how to, I just didn't have any interest, if I'm being honest, in developing a relationship with him. Once I became sober, I was able to connect with him much more openly. And it was nice because we met in Michigan on a trip, and we were all able to sit down and have good conversation. So I really appreciate him for his perspective and everything that he went through, and I appreciate Michelle. By the way, Michelle is coming out for the Super Bowl weekend and staying for about a week, and she asked if she could be a guest on this, so she's more than welcome to. I'll sit her in the hot seat, and once I press the record button, we'll see how she reacts. It's a lot more intimidating than one can think, so we'll see. Yeah, so friendships. I could continue to talk about that and go into a real deep dive, but I think my entire outlook and perspective on that will change later on down the road. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. I think what I want to do is talk a little bit about the mental health side of things. Wait, hold on. I told you I'd talk about something about cravings, so I'm going to do that. Last weekend, we were watching football with Dad, and a commercial came on, and I don't get the cravings. I can't recall the last one I had besides this. I think in my last episode, I told you guys that it was more of a ritual-based craving, so, doing a project during the summertime, I'd come in sweaty, get ready to take a shower, and of course, that'd be the time when I would just crush like 3 or 4 beers, because it's refreshing while it's dehydrating you. But so I love the seltzer water. But we were watching football, and a white wine commercial came on, and the dude was holding it in a stemless wine glass, which was our drinking glassware that we used as well. And I just got to thinking, and I looked at Judy, and we both knew exactly what we were thinking. I was like, I vocalized it, and I think that's a good thing to do. I was like, man, that looks delicious. Because that was our thing too. Towards the end of our heavy drinking, we used to have a lot of beer, but that was usually started out with, let's just be honest, a box of wine a night. Judy and I, we could crush a box of wine, no problem. And I think that equates to like 3 or 4 bottles. It's just so damn tasty and refreshing to sit down with not just a little frou-frou pour or two, but I mean, fill the glass and just chug it with some peanuts and almonds on a hot day. Man, that's the way to do it. But very healthy part of that craving was I immediately, without thinking about it, like fast forwarded to how drunk I would get. Because there's never just the one. I think that's an Alcoholics Anonymous thing that I picked up from there too. Which drink do you remember? Which drink is the best, the first or the last? So I can't remember how that goes, but I mean, yeah, there was, I think that's a healthy skill to develop too, is just fast forward and think about what's going to happen. Because I can't have one. It makes 0 sense to me to have one glass or a bottle of anything. That's the portion that's broken. I know there's millions of alcoholics out there that feel the same thing. It's like, I don't know. I can sit and watch someone drink a glass of wine and I'll just stare at them like, what is this power that you yield? I'm not trying to be funny. It's just bizarre. I don't know how to do it. Because after the glass of wine or the beer or whatever, if I don't have another one and don't continue to elevate the buzz and the drunkenness and the blood alcohol volume, then I don't know what it is. I'm ending the fun or the engagement of it. Can't figure it out. There's times when I've stayed up till like 3 or 4 in the morning drinking, no shit, up to like 30 beers. A case of Busch, no problem. Done. That got pretty costly. But it wasn't because I was sitting there trying to smash feelings or anything. I just enjoyed getting drunk and just hanging out. But like getting drunk to the point where I was, trying to look at the computer monitor with one eye and just seeing quadruples on stuff and then barely being able to walk to bed. That's just, well, it was what it was. So, okay. I think next week what I'm going to do is get pretty deep into depression and medication and briefly talk about my therapist versus my psychiatrist, because one does mental health therapy, the psychiatrist does medication management. She doesn't want to hear it. She just wants to know how you're doing on your medication and then kind of fuck off and see you next time. I kind of appreciate that. That's why they make the big bucks. Joking aside, she's very helpful in her own special way. So we're going to get into that, but the sort of hors d'oeuvre that I want to talk about, or the teaser with the depression, is something I talked about on the last one. I really want to have a long discussion about it, and that is how society in general sort of misunderstands what depression is, and OCD and PTSD. Heads up, I get I'm kind of over it, but I get frustrated when people are like, oh man, don't do that. It really gets my OCD going. You don't have OCD. Or someone's like, oh man, I saw this movie and it really gave me PTSD. Bitch, you don't have PTSD. Don't undermine people's real mental health issues. I don't like how those words have become just sort of synonymous with everyday discussion on people, because they're real issues that people have. A good friend of mine has OCD and she struggles with it. And we'll talk about PTSD way later on, but I do want to have a good deep dive discussion about depression, because it is one of the ones that really crept up fast and furious when I quit drinking, and my psychiatrist and therapist have really helped me navigate that, because it is the wicked chemical imbalance. So we'll get into that and about the dark, deep, sorrowful gloominess that we can slip into with depression without ever wanting to be there. And then how medication can help sort of tweak the chemical imbalance to keep you from getting to that point. And where I'll go with that is, I don't like it when people are like, well, when I tell them you're depressed, or I've had conversations, they're like, well, you're just sad. Just go do some exercise, or maybe you're not eating well. That's nothing to do with it. Believe me, my health is in perfect condition. My bills are paid. I have a beautiful relationship. I've got good friends. Life is fantastic. For me right now, it could not get any better. I've got a great job. I get paid. Got great medical benefits. There's nothing wrong in my life. There's absolutely nothing wrong. That's what's frustrating about depression, is that sometimes it'll catch me super off guard, in the sense that I just wake up and I'm like, fuck. So we'll talk about that next week. I'm going to talk about some coping mechanisms, some strategies. I'm going to give full disclosure on exactly the dosage of medication and what medication I take. I think it's important for people to know that when you're dealing with serotonin reuptake inhibitors, norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, dopamine inhibitors, all of that good stuff, that it's just a super, super long trial and error period, and it's really frustrating because the initial side effects are just tremendous sometimes for people, especially people like me. And that's why people give up on them real quickly, because you need a good, 6, 8, 12-week bake-in time for some of those to take effect. And then poor Judy's been on the receiving end of me just going through medication brain for months on end. Took me a long time to find the good balance, and working with a really good psychiatrist is key. Not your doctor. My primary care physician, he was a field surgeon in 7 different combat zones. He has seen some shit, believe me. In the infantry, thought I saw some shit, but a field surgeon, whew, nightmare fuel. Anyway, fantastic doctor. When I talked to him about mental health initially, he's like, what do you want to do? We could give you some of these pills. All right, sounds good. Those were the wrong pills for me. Not good. So we'll talk about that. Okay. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. This is very important for me to be able to share this stuff. It is my diary. Feel free to go back. Feel free to give me some tips and tricks and advice. As you can see, I'm adjusting the formatting. I don't want to tweak it too much. We'll keep it very simple as we go through this, and maybe next time we could have more chat participation, and we'll talk about having some guest stars on here in the future, and that is it. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy. You are loved. Everyone out there is very special. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And be well. Bye.